Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today I am here to do my Filmmaker's 4K restoration review on a few recent Screen Factory 4K releases. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so the mouthful alliteration aside there, I have a few recent Screen Factory 4K releases that I want to review. And if you guys have seen some of my other 4K reviews, you know that I don't do these like other people do. I'm a filmmaker. I've been doing this for a long time, so I have a different look at things, kind of like a different perspective on it. So when I review them, you're not going to see tons of side-by-sides. You know, you're not going to hear all about the transfer of this or the transfer of that. It's not, it's just not about a bunch of that kind of thing with me. I'm going to tell you from a practical standpoint and like a real like watching standpoint what you can expect from these movies and what I think of them. And I have three movies that I'm going to talk about here today. One is the Screen Factory Shout Studios release of Matinee. One is the recent release of RoboCop 2 from Shout Studios Screen Factory. And as this is a Shout Studios, Screen Factory video, we are also going to talk about Phantoms. So let's kind of start with the oldest one first, which is, I believe, RoboCop 2. It's been out now for a month or so. I can't remember the release date. But this film right here, this was on my top 10, and actually Matinee was as well, on my top 10 4Ks of the year so far. This is as close to reference quality. If you want to talk about reference quality, demo quality, that just means that it is like as perfect as you can get. If you want to show somebody what 4K is all about and what it can do, that it's a movie that you would pop in. So for me, like, people are grain this, grain that. You can check out, I'll link my other videos at the end where I explain why, to me, it's not all about like grain and where grain can come from and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not even really considering that so much in this, unless it's like something where they over DNR'd out the grain in a scene and then didn't do it in the next scene and things like that. I would mention, of course, but this film right here, I'm going to tell you, Screen Factory, Shout Studios, Shout Scream, they catch a lot of heat, man. They catch a lot of heat in this community now. And I think a lot of people maybe forget that without them, we might not be having all these boutiques that are popping up to support collectors and everything. And that Screen Factory is one of the forerunners to that. And they are one of the ones that that still appeal more to the overall masses. So we need more people coming in and joining the physical media craze and the physical media collecting market. And in order to do that, you have to have a wide sampling of films. And that also may mean going back sometimes and putting out films that you just had on that it was released on Blu-ray 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, on 4K. Because now 4K is the next thing and we want 4K to continue on. So somebody's got to do that. And sometimes those companies, they have to put something out on 4K or they may lose the license. It doesn't lessen the amount of work that they got to do to put in it. Now, this movie is available in Dolby Vision. So you have Dolby Vision, and this is the DTS HD audio, so there's no Dolby Atmos on that. I had someone in my comments mention to me about Dolby Atmos, and maybe I can like eventually do something in my computer and my editing software and kind of explain that a little bit more. Now, I'm not a sound guy or a sound editor, but basically Dolby Atmos and 7.1, like those height channels and things like that you're talking about, with these older movies, that those line tracks of sound effects and audio didn't exist. It wasn't until like Toy Story 3 at the theater that you started getting those, something actually put in a 7.1 mix for Dolby Atmos, because everything else was 5.1. 7.1 isn't actually real. It's not a real surround sound mix, and definitely wasn't real surround sound mix until I think it was Toy Story 3, which is odd, but that's the first one that did it. And what I mean by not real is those are extra added channels that don't occur naturally. So sometimes it might make it hard to understand where sound's coming from, although a lot of times it makes it just sound cool as hell. But what happens is, from my understanding of this process, again, not a sound guide, sound editor, but from my understanding of this process is, they have, in order to make a Dolby Atmos track, they have to be able to go back and have like the root files of the sound effects, like literally where it says thunderclap or whatever, and somebody put that sound effect into an editing software. They have to have that in order, and it has to be separate. Like if the only thing they have exists is all the sound effects were to encoded together into one audio track, they may not be able to make an Atmos, because they have to literally pull the sound effects apart individually and put them on different channel lines to make them come out of the different speakers. So they have to have the root files, from what I understand, in order to do that, which means if you're looking at I'm just going to spin this around, show you my editing right here. So if you're looking at, this is an editing track right here, and this is an audio track, and this is an audio track. Now, you could imagine that like this is an audio track, this is an audio track, and then this one right here is a sound effects track. And then you might have several others down here that are sound effects track. But when you encode it, it will make one track, depending on how it was encoded in the music and effects, it will make one track like this. And unless you have, so now all these separate sound effects where all these cuts are, they're all mixed into one thing now. So they can't take those apart to make an Atmos track. They have to have these individual sound effects in order to take it apart, and each one of these lines is a different sound, is a different audio line, a different audio track. So they have to have these that are individual, from what I understand, in order to make the Atmos track. If all these were encoded together and all they have is one effects track, they can't do it. They can't pull those apart, because now it's just one sound blended together. That's a really quick and dirty explanation there, but maybe that kind of helps you visually a little bit. So not everything can be done in Atmos. So don't be like, oh, Scream Factory sucks or Arrow sucks. They couldn't even give us an Atmos track. It may not be physically possible, from what I understand. Again, not a sound editor, but I have had to do some sound editing, and I have to deliver different music and effects tracks. So that's how I understand that it works. This film, I look for moments in this film, and you're going to see some video clips. It's just where I'm recording my TV for reference. It's going to be crap quality because it's me using a 4K camera to record a 4K TV, and there's light reflecting on it and all that stuff. It's completely unscientific, but it's just for reference for what I'm talking about. The moment in here that tells me all I need to know about how badass of a 4K this is when RoboCop gets out and he's going into like this warehouse district, or this like warehouse where the bad guys are, and he gets out and opens this gate, and you see like the sun, it's cloudy, but like the sun comes through and hits his armor, and holy crap, the colors, the way the metal sheen, the I don't know, like you see a million colors go through his armor. It is beautiful. It is like a painting. It is so clear. Like when you're painting metal or glass, because I paint, when you're painting metal or glass, you don't actually paint metal or glass. You paint all the colors that the metal or glass reflects. And that's what it did. It painted his metal, his armor. That's all I need to see. I mean, yes, there's going to be things in here that was in low quality there, like where he's supposed to look through his visor and stuff like that through his vision. It's when you enhance the 4K, it's going to enhance how low quality those were purposely to start with in the stylized look. But man, this thing is awesome. Reference quality, you will not be disappointed. If you're a fan of RoboCop 2, now I don't think this film is as good as the first one, but it is a good film. I'm happy to have it in my collection. I got the double slip version. I actually just like this artwork better. That's something else Screen Factory puts in. I got 2 different slips, one with new artwork and one with the original artwork. Got posters, all that. Same price as any 4K that comes out. Great 4K. Take that for what you will. All right, the next one up is Matinee. And honestly, really and truly, you don't have to look any further than the damn menu screen to know how amazing this one is. This one does have Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision. This thing is beautiful. The colors and what I look at in here, this one has some really tricky moments that could be really bad because this is set in the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And this guy, John Goodman, is playing like a William Castle inspired character where he's like trying to promote his, schlocky B sci-fi horror movies. And it's during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and they're in Key West. So they're like right there in it. And a lot goes on in this movie theater because he has his like rumble vision set up and hooked to the seats and, things to squirt water and shock the seats and all this kind of stuff. Well, because it's like the 60s and you have that aesthetic, like you have all these beautiful, like primary, like colors. And then you have the movie within the movie that is, one of them is black and white. And then there's one earlier in the movie that's actually shot exteriors at, if you're familiar with Universal Studios Florida, they shot a lot of this there. But one of the movies within the movie that shows early in the film, something about a shopping cart or something like that. I forget how ridiculous it was. But it was shot at Universal Studios Florida in the alleyway over in the New York City area where like Finnegan's Restaurant and stuff is. But there's all this paint spilled and it's in color. And man, the paint just looks like it could pour off the screen onto you. And this is the movie screen within the movie. And that's an example. I'm like, holy crap, look at that. That is amazing. And then you have all these beautiful, bold colors in the Strand Theater. It's a historical Strand Theater that they're in. And it'll do these wide shots where you can see all this beautiful, these red seats, all this color and everything. And then the screen is in black and white. So you talk about testing the range of color. In a Dolby Vision or an HDR10 situation, I don't care. You're testing the 4K because you have all this damn bright reds and yellows and blues and all this stuff in this foreground. And then as it goes to the vanishing point, you have the screen that's in black and white. So it's testing that dynamic range of the 4K and the color in the black and white up there on the screen behind all of this color that also has to pop. When you can pull that off and make it look that good, that is impressive. Impressive. Now this one comes from the original camera negative. So, and I think RoboCop came from the original negative too. Yes, also from the original negative. Now that's always going to help them look better. If they got the original negative, original print, that's always going to be better than like if you have to go find the inner positive or the inner negative or whatever. Because that you're going to be closer to being to the source that allows you to get the biggest resolution increase, because the closer you are to the original source of that film, then the original film and negative had the capability of 4K, maybe 6K. And so the more you can use that, the more it's going to look better, but you still have to know what you're doing. And this is amazing work. And I know it sounds like maybe I'm working for Screen Factory, Shout Factory. I'm not. They don't give me nothing. Nobody gives me anything. I get nothing from anyone. So, except for the Movie Den, my subscriber sent me The Witch on 4K. I'm really looking from Second Sight. I'm looking forward to watching that because I haven't seen The Witch. But the Screen Factory doesn't give me anything. But I would be proud of any, like, that, man. The most recent releases, I've heard people complain that, they don't, they're having a down year because they didn't put out X, Y, or Z. Like, or they suck because they didn't put out this, or they didn't put out that, or whatever. Like, just wait till the next month. Maybe they'll have something that you want. Like, they're appealing to the masses. There's no way that each company can look and say, hey, I think these collectors are looking for this movie, so let's put this movie out. There's no way. Like, you can't say that they suck 1 month or 1 year because they didn't put out anything you were looking for your collection, and then the next month or the next year say they're awesome because they just so happen to be putting out the stuff you were specifically looking for. Because the next 30 people might already have that and think it sucks. And the first 30 people might have thought the year before was great because they didn't have any of those that you already have. So, they don't exist to fill out our collections with exactly what we want. And if they don't have what you want that month or that year, just keep waiting. Somebody will put it out because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes either with rights and stuff. I heard people talking about, well, I wish they'd put out Day of the Dead instead of Land of the Dead. I did some digging, and it looks like Day of the Dead might be owned by this smallish company called Taurus, and it looks like they're shopping the 4K to the highest bidder right now and trying to get it, just from the cursory research I did. It could be wrong, but that different sources that I read, that's what it looks like. And I forget what other, I think they also own the rights to Creepshow in 4K and stuff. So if you only own a few things and you're this company, and it's sought after, you're going to try to look for the best price, and the negotiation could go on for a while. So, or, if you're looking for Lionsgate titles, Lionsgate is notoriously hard to deal with. Like, one of my movies was put out under, like, Magnolia and Indican, which is part of Lionsgate. It can be hard to deal with. So you just never know what's going on. But in the meantime, there are people in there doing hellaciously good restoration work. In every 4K that you're pissed that they put out instead of another 4K, somebody might be looking for that 4K. Like this latest release, I didn't have any of those on 4K. And I only had 1 or 2 of them on Blu-ray. So I'm pretty happy. But your mileage is going to vary, obviously. But that doesn't mean the company sucks, because there's people in here doing kick-ass work on these. Like this is like top 3 for me for the year. This thing is friggin' amazing, and that's the kind of stuff you need to look for. There's other scenes in this where they're outside at night and the theater marquee is lit up, and then there's all these bright colors and darkness contrasts. That shit is hard to make look good and to look flawless, and it's absolutely flawless. This is one of the best 4Ks I've seen. And Screen Factory, Shout Factory doing some hellaciously good work. Grab Matinee, Joe Dante, John Goodman is a dude in this movie I just want to hang out with and talk movies and bullshit with. Like, I mean, I love this movie. Check it out. All right, finally, up next is Phantoms. This is one that I've heard people shit on too. Why did they put that out? Why did they put that out? But then people will also be like, well, why don't you put out any more early to mid-2000s horror? And then if they put out an early to mid-2000s horror, they get shit for it. Like whether they did this or Amityville Horror remake, or now they've pulled some new titles. I believe Wolfman was a new title for them. Devil was a new title for them. And you do those things, Drag Me to Hell might have been a new title from them. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't look that up before this. But those are all new 4Ks. They haven't been 4Ks before, and a couple of those are new titles to Scream Factory. They're in the early to mid, like early 2000s to 2010s, 12 area. And this one is this is Dolby Vision. This is DTS audio, so they may not have been able to do a Dolby Atmos. Let's see, this one. This is a 4K scan of the original camera negative 2, and presented in Dolby Vision. Like, this movie was, what year was this? This was 98. So this was late 90s. So that's around that same time period you're looking for. So you can't crack on them just because they're not putting out the specific ones you want. And if you, it just makes you sound like entitled or whiny. Like, I mean, I really want In the Mouth of Madness, and I want Big Trouble in Little China. And I want those in 4K, and I want them with these black box sets that I collect, because that's what I collect. But they don't exist just to give me the things I want when I want them. And you have these other companies that may not exist without Scream Factory, and I love them. Arrow is amazing. Vinegar Syndrome is amazing. Umbrella is doing crazy good work. Second Sight, all these. But remember, like, I hear people comparing Scream Factory to Second Sight, and I love Second Sight. But compare the amount of movies that Second Sight restores and puts out in comparison to the amount. Scream Factory put out more in their announcement for October than Second Sight's probably going to put out all year long. Like, it is much, like, if you put out only 1 or 2 a month, you could make them way more grand. Now, I wish they would go, like, I like slip covers, and I like having different slip covers, but I wish they would go back to, like, the hard, like, full slips for the collectors, or at least give us the option of the paper one, or like a hard full slip or a standard edition. I wish they would do that to still cater to those collectors out there, and so you're, to the masses and the collectors. I really do wish they would do that, but they are giving you multiple slips and posters and different art and stuff like that. It's just hard to do a lot with the posters. You'd have to have infinite wall space, otherwise you're just collecting them up. But back to this movie. This one is shit on a lot. People are like, this is a stupid movie. I actually rewatched this movie. This is Dean Koontz, based on a Dean Koontz novel. I believe it's Koontz. Yeah. And to me, like, when I rewatched this, I'm going to jump back to something in a second, but when I rewatched this, I had fun with it. It's like, I'd forgotten how, like, Lovecraft it is very Lovecraft like, and it's got a good cast. I mean, you got Peter O'Toole in here, you've got a young Ben Affleck, you've got Liev Schreiber, and it's Joanna Going is in this, Rose McGowan's in this. You've got that little small town horror with mystery vibe that I like. So that you're trying to uncover what it is. Maybe I wish they maybe went more dark and into the mystery a little further, but as they're uncovering it, I totally dig all that stuff. I mean, yes, some of the early CGI, I've went over that in my other 4K stuff too, of how, like, early CGI and early effects like that, or even new CGI, because it's had to be rendered in lower quality and then you're upgrading this resolution, it can make it kind of stick out more instead of blend in. But who cares? This movie looks so good. So, like, there's scenes in here where, like, they're in the dark outside that looks amazing. The skin tones, everything's so nice but sharp, but still creamy and filmic like. This is a really good job. I'm going to tell you, I put this on HDR10, even though it had Dolby Vision, and I recalibrated this is how good this is. I recalibrated my TV's HDR10 settings, picture settings, based on using this film. And people say, have your TV professionally calibrated. I am that guy that people will pay to come and set your TV. Like, I've done that before. So, like, I set my TV with the HDR10 setting because this film is so dark. I put it on HDR10 because it will convert down to that. and set my TV based on this. And then with Dolby Vision, I went to those scenes that I mentioned earlier, and I made another setting and calibrated my TV for Dolby Vision using this movie, using Matinee, specifically some of those scenes I mentioned where they're in the theater and it's all of those colors, and then the black and whites on the TV in the back on the movie screen. I calibrated my TV using that scene and the scene at Universal Studios where all the paint colors come down. So you want to talk demo quality? I'm a guy who's literally been paid to come and calibrate and basically do all the color settings and the calibrations on people's TVs. I use these two movies to calibrate my TV's Dolby Vision and HDR10 settings. That's how good these films are. That's how good the quality is. Now, whether you like the movie itself or not, that's totally subjective. I enjoy all these movies. Out of these movies, honestly, Matinee is my favorite. Phantoms is my second favorite. RoboCop 2 is my third favorite. And that's not RoboCop 2's fault. It's just completely different tone than RoboCop 1. And I love RoboCop 1 so much, and it's a classic, that 2 is never going to get there for me the same. But this one is clearly, Joe Dante I love in this movie, with the movie theater and the vibe and everything. Matinee is baller for me. Vintage, 60s, all that shit. It's for me. I love the Lovecraft horror in this. I like Liev Schreiber. I like young Ben Affleck in this. Maybe I said Matt Damon earlier, but it's young Ben Affleck. They're intertwinable. One's just a better actor than the other. Matt Damon. I love Ben Affleck in this though, and it is a real. I have fun with it. It's like a Lovecraft movie. You can't go wrong. Screen Factory tearing it up with these 4K restorations. Say what you want to. Complain that they don't put out the movie specifically what you want when you want, and say they should have did this and they should have did that. There's 100 other people saying I already got that, or I don't like that movie. They should have did this or this instead. So you can't make everybody happy. But what you can do is baller ass work on restoring 4Ks to the best of your ability, and that's what these people are doing. Screen Factory kicked it out of the park with these three. I'll do some more reviews soon. So if you guys like this, I recommend picking these up. If you enjoy these films, pick them up. Don't just pick them up just because of 4K unless you just collect 4Ks. But if you like these movies, I highly recommend them. Couldn't recommend them more. Beautiful films, beautiful restorations. And that's what I got for you this time. So if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And I do this and lists and physical media news and all kinds of stuff from a fan and a filmmaker's perspective. So if you want a little bit different perspective, hang around with me. You can join the channel here below or on my Patreon for as little as a couple of bucks a month and get insider info. Maybe I'll do some editing tutorials back there and kind of show you guys what I'm doing. You get behind the scenes looks at my movies and my filmmaking, and you tell me I'm crazy or whatever. You get your name on here and shout outs, live free swag that I do, special live streams, all kinds of stuff that I'm always trying to add. I just added in a making of a scene in a horror movie where I put a selection of raw clips that we shot on the day in kind of a sequence, and you saw it without the color and the shooting and everything else, and then it kind of showed you the final product. So pretty cool, and that's the kind of stuff that you'll get if you're a channel member. And but you don't have to do any of that to hang around. Just like, subscribe, and ring that bell and become part of the pop culture family here. And until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. I know.